Well, we're back from the break, and of course, with 28 minutes to the top of the hour, welcome on board to Smart 24 TV and Smart Means Business. I'm Joram Paul Soko in here. Well, the markets on the Zabo platform are already open, so it's high time for you to invest in government bonds and securities. Star 292 hash is the USSD code that you can definitely use to definitely kickstart off your investment journey. Well, today the hashtag you can definitely use with investing, hashtag SMB, hashtag Smart24 TV, hashtag driving business. So drive your business by investing. With a minimum of 15,000 Ugandan shillings, you can quickly invest in government bonds. Zabo says, my money, my future. All Tech East Africa does say, do something new. With your NIN, if you have no account yet, you can definitely open up one today. Zabo, my money, my future. All Tech East Africa says do something new. The markets open at 8:15 a.m. and close at 3:15 p.m. East African Standard Time. They are only closed during weekends and on public holidays. Now at this time, let's head to sports business. All right, now with the sports business this morning, let's have more from what is coming in. And we start with Kenya, as the government of Kenya is set to tap sports tourism in order to boost visitor arrivals. On Wednesday, the government announced that it will tap sports tourism to boost foreign visitor arrivals, according to Penina Maloza, the cabinet secretary for the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage in Kenya. Now, she apparently told journalists in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi, that sports tourism is one of the fastest growing sectors in tourism, thanks to the increased number of sporting events being held in Kenya every year. And according to the government statistics, tourism is one of Kenya's largest sources of foreign exchange, alongside tea, diaspora remittances, and horticulture. Now, sports have a huge potential to transform Kenya's tourism sector because foreign visitors do travel to attend popular sporting events and compete in the events themselves. Now, on the other hand, ice hockey is among the tourism activities which are relatively new in Kenya and whose potential has not been fully exploited. So the Kenyan government does intend to use tourism as the opportunity that should be utilized as an individual. So if we are to talk about that, that should be something that we can look at. Kenya is looking at the tourism sector to ensure that they boost sports in the country. So sports tourism is something that the government is intending to do simply because they do have the numbers and everything. Now, well, besides that particular situation from Kenya, let's switch our eyes to England, as Manchester City has agreed a regional deal in India with reliance on geo platforms rather. Now, the English Premier League side agreed a regional sponsorship deal with the Indian geo platforms that will see the company become the club's official mobile communications network partner in India. Now, under the deal, which was enabled and supported by the Indian sports agency Rise Worldwide, which, like G platforms, is owned by the Indian conglomerate Reliance Industries, the two parties will collaborate on a range of fan engagement initiatives. The initiatives will be available through Geo's digital ecosystems, which includes GOTV, MyGeo, GeoSTB, and Geo Engage. So that is what is entailed in this particular deal, as Manchester City and Geo platforms have apparently agreed on that deal. And then lastly, from sports business, we head to West Africa, as the new World TV has landed FA Cup rights in 17 African countries. So the new World TV group has secured exclusive French language pay TV rights to broadcast England's FA Cup in 16 countries across Western and Central Africa, along with none-exclusively in Chad. Under the agreement brokered by the IMG agency, the Togo-based satellite broadcaster will air live these particular French language coverage matches of all fixtures from the next two seasons of the annual competition, 2022-2023, which is currently the FA Cup that's return on the screens this weekend, and also in the 2023-2024 season, alongside highlights programming. And of course, the highlights programming, which as well include the preview, of course, replays, live matches, then the finals themselves, behind the scenes of all that, interviews, exclusive interviews of the magic of the FA Cup in there. Of course, the FA Cup, that is the Football Association Cup in England, which is definitely a cup for all the leagues in the English, that is in England, professional leagues available in there. Well, apparently, away from that same situation, that is it for sports business this particular morning, as you're definitely getting it here on Smart 24 TV. And that brings us to the end of sports business. Well, sports business comes to an end, and we're now crossing to Berija Andrew for the business in entertainment. It is Friday, and of course, Berija Andrew always comes up with something that will definitely make your weekend. And so he is ready to give us more of what he has researched for us this morning. Berija Andrew, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Jerome. Very good morning to you. Yeah, and of course, talking about the business and entertainment, we've actually made it a priority every Friday to ensure that we actually get a movie budget breakdown as we go through the different movies that you've been watching. It could be a trending movie. It may not be really necessarily a trending movie at the time. It could be one of the old-time movies that you used to love back in the days, and probably you didn't know what it took to make that movie. What is the movie budget like? And of course, that and more is going to be coming up. And today is the official premiere of this particular Friday segment, as we shall be breaking down the different movies. And this is meant to inspire the local movie production scene to ensure that we can actually get to understand that movies is something that should be taken quite very seriously, because it's a real business. It's not something that we do just to pass time. But when you look at how, of course, where we benchmark our ideas in the foreign world, that's Hollywood, we can actually pick something and we can implement it in our domestic movies, and we can actually see something coming out quite much more better. And the movie of the day today, which we are going to really break down and see what it took to manufacture, organize, what it took to produce this particular movie, is the Terminator Genesis. Yes, that was of course by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Emilia Clarke, Jason Clarke, then Jai Courtney, and J.K. Simmons with Matt Smith, Dio Okenigi, Courtney, Vance, and of course the Terminator Genesis was released on July. That's 1st July 2015 by Paramount Pictures in the United States, and it earned 450 million US dollars, and of course worldwide, like the global ticket sales, and directed by Alan Taylor, written by Laeta and Patrick Lucia. The film is a reboot of the Terminator series. Okay, what we are reviewing today is trying to understand what it took to make this movie when it comes to the effects, the behind the scenes. You see the technology that was forward right there, and these are quite so amazing stage. The capture that was put in place, the humanity, the human resource that was into this particular movie, and the movie budget was about 155 to 158 million US dollars. And some of the scenes where it was shot includes California, Louisiana, and Illinois. That's the United States of America. And there was that part of the Skynet headquarters, of course, the scenes which took place in Oracle Building 600, Redwood City, still in California. Like I told you, the movie budget was 155 to 158 million US dollars. But now, what really got our attention here is as we are trying to look at the behind the scenes, as we can see the blue screens being employed there. The company which was subcontracted to do that is called MPC, and MPC is a British multinational company providing visual effects and of course CGIs, or what we can call computer generated images, animation, motion design, and other services for the film and TV brand experience and advertising industry. So that's the company that was subcontracted to make the visuals that you're seeing right there and what they were able to produce. And that's quite a lot of money that are spent there. And we are talking about visual effects which are worth 20 to 50 million US dollars. And you know, it's very interesting that some of the scenes may not be shot in the places that which you may see in the background of the actual movie, that they can use the green screens, as you can see right there, how it's being done and how they go and transform it. So that's all resources that are employed there, and it shows you what really these people did, the time they spent to manufacture to make this movie rather. So now looking at MPC, which was one of the visual, actually there are quite other visual companies that were subcontracted, but in particular, let's get to focus on MPC because of its relevancy to the music industry. MPC's contribution towards Terminator Genesis. Now, looking at the effect side, one of the companies that patterned in regards to providing effects was MPC, and of course led by MPC Visual Effects Supervisor, that's Sheldon Stopsack, and Visual Effects Supervisor Producer, that's Chad Nixon. So MPC completed more than 300 shots. That's for Terminator Genesis. So more than 300 shots. So all the scenes that really needed visual effects, MPC really did a great job regarding that particular aspect when it comes to manipulating these visuals, trying to create backgrounds that we don't really see. And now I'm trying to show you the character that was involved in terms of making this movie, which you probably watched for about 1.5 or 2 hours, and of course a production which took about 2 to 3 years to make that particular product there that you are observing on the screen right there. Now back to the MPC company, we see that working closely still with the production and the visual effects that's of the movie. That's Sherry Hanson. The team's work included recreating a young Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's what we call the T-800 digital character. The endoskeletons, an explosive battle at Los Angeles, and the CG set extensions and the effects work, as you can see right there on the team being put there. So you get to realize that there was quite a lot of work that was employed in terms of resources to ensure that the product comes out as perfect as you can actually see it right there. But we see still, despite that this movie was being made, the NPC visuals still had a little bit of a challenge in terms of creating these particular realities. Now, there was a scene which we were watching previously about where Arnold Schwarzenegger was battling with this devil right there. So it was something that was very tricky in terms of creating. It took them quite some, they had to put our brains together. And of course, that determines the value that they're going to charge you as a movie company in terms of like charges, the prices, the time it takes to design a character will be determining, it's very determinant in terms of charging you the price regarding that. Like I told you, these are visual effects that are worth 30 to 50 million US dollars, or even can reach 100, explaining why the movie is about 150 million US dollars regarding that, because visual effects really play a great role into this, and they are very, very costly and very expensive. Now, the biggest challenge for MPC's team was the creation of the iconic 1984 Arnold digital character for a one-to-one recreation of scenes from the original Terminator movie, and a brutal showdown between young and old LA Observatory. Now, very, very touching scenes right there. Trying to manipulate those characters, whereby there is a time where we saw two Arnold Schwarzeneggers battling each other into this particular movie. One coming from another timeline and another coming from another timeline. Remember, maybe just to give you a brief about the Terminator, it's just about the end of the world, the prediction of the Judgment Day, and what the machines like Skynet trying to destroy the entire world, but then still they send back. Of course, machines back in time to try to stop those particular things. So that's the actual scene regarding this, like the actual storyline regarding the Terminator. Now, still back to the company that was subcontracted to make these visions of Terminator Genesis. you see that MPC's team extended the practical safe build and individual components of the camp, including sections that of fuel cells, towers, and turret guns, which were recreated and placed around the CG environment. And it was important that the location was recognizable as the Los Angeles LX, so iconic landmarks such as the LX Tower and the Think building. So you get to see that how that really was showing out. There is what we call computer generated images, or what we call the CGIs on Terminator, because looking at Genesis, which we can call Terminator 5, the Terminator franchise, all the way from Terminator 1 in the 1984, gave to a new generation of computer generated images, the technology that was employed in there. And this technology has been evolving over the years, and it's being modified each day by day. But it all started back in 1984, and we are trying to create these visuals that were quite very, very amazing. And probably we are going to have a video that is just showing the locations only, seeing where the Terminator was shot, the actual scenes. We've been watching the behind the scenes right there, and of course, I know it's going to be displayed for you on the screens there, and you get to have a look at the independent locations where the Terminator was shot. So MPC also created the T-800 endoskeleton robots, which were based on life-size practical models that is built on set. Now, I'm going to, today the major focus has been on the visuals that were really observed in the movie, because the company which was subcontracted to do that is quite recognizable. Now, if you can look at such a scene, very interesting effects, very interesting tricks that were being employed regarding that. That was the bridge, the crash scene of the bridge when, of course, it was the Terminator was trying to, cause some real serious havoc. So you get to realize what they did to that bus. And now we are talking about all that money, though. That's, by the way, some people really think these are real vehicles that are being destroyed in the movies, but these are not real vehicles. They are just they're just bodies. They are not the real. Of course, they cannot get a real vehicle and release for these. They are just designed for movies specifically, so they are not that expensive as you may think. If you see a Bugatti Veyron being dismantled in a movie, probably you might think they spent, because the Bugatti Veyron is about $1 million US. No, they did buy it $1 million US, and that copy could be even just about $1,000 or even $10,000. It's not. They are not real. They're just manufactured in that. Just like they can make the backgrounds look the way they look, it's not always real. They try to make it seem like it's real, because by the time they import the visual effects, that's what brings in the reality aspect of it through the aid of the blue screen or the green screen, as you can really observe right there. And now for the Ugandan scene, how far have we gone in regarding to trying? I know some of these are quite very expensive. It's not about being a pressure to get there, but it's about being aggressive and desiring at some point to really be at this point in time whereby we can make movies that can really way out of this world. And this will call for massive education. We need to take our children, our students out there to get to these filming schools, and they get these skills on how to really manipulate. Because I'll be honest with you, the biggest percentage of the movies that are done is visual effects. You find that 60% is visual effects and 40% is actually the real acting regarding that. So that is very important for our students who are trying to get into the filming industry to understand how these particular dynamics really work. Now, they spent $150 million US to make this movie. I'm sorry, 155 or 158, though, of course, the rough estimation is there. That, of course, in Uganda, we may not be really in position to afford that money. That's quite a lot of money, because we're talking about trillions and billions of money in this regard. And it may not be something really easy to come up with, but we can try within our means to ensure that we can actually produce something really of great quality, because it's very sad that these companies, because they have the appropriate technology, they're going to come and really mess up our storylines, but still into the same locations. But of course, not forgetting the skills that are being employed in all these aspects as we are trying to get to the level, skills in acting, skills in everything. Because regardless, because it has to reach up to 100%. Everything has to be right. The acting has to be on point. The visual effects has to be on point. Because regardless of how you come and act very perfect, like how many people say that in Uganda people act like they show they're acting well. Even though they acted real and they meant what they're acting, it wouldn't make any sense if the effects were very poor. It wouldn't really add up right there. So that's Terminator Genesis for you right there, the behind the scenes, the capture that was employed, and most of those machines which are put there, the way and I said not real machines, just designed up machines. Those vehicles, they can actually sometimes design cities. That's all money involved. Those some scenes are actually shot on actual grounds. They go into those actual places. Now places like Louisiana and California, they really get there on ground. Though there are some scenes which are quite very dangerous to act, and they have to use green screens or what we call CGIs, computer generated images. And this comes back to the animation background when you know how to play around, because with CGIs you can manipulate literally anything. That's why you can, when you watch the Terminator movie, you can see the Arnold Schwarzenegger being flesh on top, and inside is and the skeleton inside is metallic. So it's all manipulations into the CGIs. Though still, at some point there is some they put in, like there is some reality which they attached with. There is some makeup designs which have to be done onto the artist. So that is something also to take into consideration as you're making these movies. Despite the fact that we want to make them on the computers, there is the aspect of the hardware part of it whereby you have to actually get involved, because if you actually get to observe the scenes of the Terminator Genesis, there were areas where there was makeup that was done onto Arnold Schwarzenegger, despite the fact that they could actually use machines, the effects, to make him look metallic one side and having flesh on the other side. So that's why it's something very, very remarkable to look through that. And that is it for the business and entertainment. And I hope, like I told you, you want to inspire the local filming industry. When you watch this, you can try to benchmark these ideas and see where we are not yet there. It is okay, because the resources, we cannot dictate the resources that we get, but we can try to get to see. Now, if you can observe that clip just portrays the locations. Now, you remember the crash which we saw in the behind the scenes? That's the bridge where it was actually acted on. In reality, it wasn't a CGI. That tunnel where John Connor comes out, when he's really transforming, it also shows us that some scenes were actually, they were on the ground in reality. Now the question is, which is more expensive? Traveling in the actual scenes and putting CGIs, because now that will involve travel, transportation, you're talking about fuel. So either way, the cost is always the same, but it sounds more natural when the scenes are really acted on the actual scene. Yes, on the actual scene. If you watch Terminator Genesis, you remember that kind of very well. Yeah, that is right there where it was acted. So you get to understand that sometimes you gotta go on the ground and really observe the places where these events really transpired. So the team had to get there and shoot the movie. Of course, there are resources involved. Some of the actors really you have to mobilize them from very far places, and it all takes financial resources in that regard. So that's the tunnel right there where we saw one of the places where Terminator Genesis was filmed. Okay, it's exactly 55 minutes past the hour of 8 a.m. and we come to the end of the business and entertainment this morning, and at this particular time we're going to get into a short commercial break, and of course more business insights coming up after here. And at 9:30 I'll be joined again with Jerome as we are wrapping up the week with what has been transparent to the business world, and of course looking at the topics which we've been discussing on ground, seeing how the business environment is really kicking out, how best can you run a business amidst a global crisis. Stick around. Good morning.